Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Nepal in the Himalayas. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath. And that's all. And that's all. Well, you're not a co-host.
No, I know.
You haven't. Okay.
No co-host.
She's working her way up. Mara, our producer, is here. Kastuba's in flight, coming back from London. He did he did some cool stuff. I talked to him today. He called me in the mountains. It was sort of cool that I had reception. But everybody here live, say Haribo. Haribo. Yeah, we have a good group here live, and they're inspired because today was our most grueling hiking day yet. And everybody was a little bitchy and complaining. And
that's not true.
No, we were all in great spirits. Everyone was doing good. But this is our last big day. Tomorrow we have a little day, and then we're back to Pokhara. It's been a great trip.
So great.
Great trip. You know, we ran into a bunch of Americans yesterday from upstate New York. What college was that?
Hamilton College. Hamilton
College in upstate New York. And I was like, what are you guys doing here? And they were like, well, we're doing a class on the origins of hiking, or what was it called? The origins
of trekking.
Trekking through Nepal. And I was like, trekking in Nepal started in 1950. And I was thinking, no, it didn't. People have been trekking. All the great saints have gone to the Gandaki, gone to Muktinath. I mean, there's temples in Vrindavan with shalagram shilas that they carried back. Not only did they come here, not only did they go to the Himalayas, they hiked to the Himalayas barefoot on pilgrimage to go to Muktinath. It's trekking. Maybe secular, take God out of the picture. Let's try to conquer a mountain. Maybe that came in the 50s. But when you come to these mountains, the last thing I want to do is conquer them. I want to serve them. I want to understand them. I want to, immerse myself into the culture. It's almost like we transported adventure sport culture here. When the real culture of Nepal and all of this area of Bharat Varsh is Sanatana Dharma, or the mysticism that goes with these spiritual places. We're expert at exporting mundane culture. No, that's we're like an import export. Yeah, we've done it all over the world. But I will say it is nice to hike and trek in nature, and because it's sandwiched with our morning program, our morning satsang, and our evening satsang, it keeps it sort of real. It keeps it alive. It keeps us focused. And while we're hiking, we just have mantras going through our minds, and we're chewing over philosophy that we explained during the course of the day. And everyone's taking different turns in their life, so it's such a. And of course, the Sangha itself, the group of people we're hanging out with, is very high caliber people. And so it's lifted my consciousness as well. I got to know a lot of Zoomers that listen to the show. And then we've got so many repeat pilgrims that are here. I've been very, very inspired. Any announcements? And we want to apologize. We've been off the air. This is our first day with the internet. And I just apologize because we miss doing Wisdom of the Sages. Every day we're ready, and then we pull up, and they're like, nope, no internet, or very, very weak signal.
Announcements: we have Bhakti Recovery Group meeting today at 1 and 9:30 p.m. And Zeb from Pittsburgh Yoga Factory is offering an asana class for our Patreon members at 4 p.m. today.
All right. Zeb's awesome. If you like what we're doing, you want to support us, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Once you get in, you have access to all these yoga classes, workshops. They're all backlogged and you can listen to them. Thanks for everybody that supports us. What do you say? I have got nothing else interesting to say today.
Shall we read the Bhagavatam?
Yes, let's read the Bhagavatam. We got a lot of catching up on to do. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading.
Okay, reading from Canto 4, Chapter 9, Text 10. Although I think we should read 9 again, actually.
All right. A rewinder. All right, so we're in, what's going on? Do you remember?
Yeah, so Dhruva's offering prayers to Lord Vishnu.
Okay. Text 9, persons who worship you for the sense okay, so Dhruva's speaking to Lord Vishnu. Persons who worship you simply for sense gratification. Oh, this is the funny thing. Remember we called it for sense gratification of this bag of skin are certainly influenced by your illusory energy. Right? They're worshiping God for some type of gratification of the senses. In spite of having you, who are like a desire tree, right? Can fulfill all desires and are the cause of liberation from birth and death, right? In the biggest picture, that's what we're getting from our spirituality. Foolish persons, such as me, desire benedictions from you for sense gratification, which is available even for those who live in hellish conditions. I love this bag of skin thing. Mm-hmm. Let's just play with that again. Let's just play. Yeah, bag of skin. We spend our life decorating the bag of skin, right? Putting on face cream, nails, hair on the bag of skin. And what are we? It's just it's a bag of blood, a bag of muscle. But you cut it open a little bit, it's ghastly. And we're running around chasing what did we call it the other day? Body gloves. Mm. That is not only would you chase them, we hate them because their glove is different, right? Their glove's a different pigment, right? So we don't like that glove. We keep them separate from our glove. Or they're different genders. We have different gender glove. And underneath this bag of flesh is a pure spirit. And spirituality is about seeing spirit underneath the bag of flesh. I had great questions with Joshua Love today and Jake today. Oh, yeah. All about reincarnation and taking birth again. And of course, we slipped into ghosts, and that always comes up. Mystical powers, but why people take birth with who and souls traveling together, etc. Okay. My Lord, this is text 10. My Lord, the transcendental bliss derived from meditating upon your lotus feet or hearing about your glories from a pure devotee is so unlimited that it is far beyond the stage of Brahmananda, wherein one thinks himself merged in the impersonal Brahman as one with the Supreme. Since Brahmananda is also defeated by the transcendental bliss derived of bhakti, then what to speak of the temporary blissfulness of elevating oneself to heavenly planets, which is ended by the separating sword of time. Oh, that was very poetic. The separating by the sword of time. Although one may be very elevated to the heavenly planets, he falls down in the due course of time. So this is an interesting thing because a lot of us didn't grow up with this culture, and therefore to understand the Vedic concept of heaven and hell. And they say that there's the Triloka, or 3 planetary systems. One is planets similar to the planets like Earth. What happens on Earth? Good and bad stuff. You fall in love, you get your heart broken. There's some incredible, you get an inheritance, you win the lottery, you fall deeply in love with the person of your dreams, or everything, a massive, your house falls into a sinkhole, right? You drive your car off of a cliff, you get in a severe elevator accident, something tragic happens. And so these middle planetary systems, they're peppered with great pain and great pleasure, great gain and great loss. They're sort of in between. Then there's planets of severe suffering, where your life is suffering from beginning, middle, and end. And then there's higher planets. Now, a lot of the Vedas deal with how to ascend to higher planets. And the higher planets, there's just more sense gratification. And one of the students the other day asked that on question and answer day. It's like, how is good karma good if it keeps us more entangled in the material world? And the answer is, it's not. It's not. For a person practicing bhakti yoga, we accept that it's not good. Good or bad karma only depends on what you do with that good or bad karma. And Krishna's opening gambit in the Gita is those who worship the demigods to go to the planets of the demigods. The fruits of worshiping the demigods are limited and temporary. And I think it's safe to say we can take ourselves out of this sort of fantastic understanding of higher planets, lower planets, hellish planets, and just look at our own life. We're like Westerners, we're Americans. We are black belts at consumption. Like, we know how to consume. We know how to go on vacations. We've been to the best beaches. And you know what? It really winds up in a really big deal. Been there, done that. And I think it's safe to say we've all been there and done that. And when you've been there and done that, it's sort of like, now what? Now what do I do? Well, let's just try a different flavor of the same ice cream. That's what's going on in the material world. It's called just a material bucket list. And what do you do when you get there? Okay, I want to go to Paris. I want to go to Paris. I want to go to Paris. I go to Paris. Now what? I'm at the Eiffel Tower. What do I do? How do I consume the Eiffel Tower? Okay, take a picture of me doing Warrior 2 in front of the Eiffel Tower. It's like that. Take a picture of me doing Crow at the Colosseum. Take a picture. I'm talking about yogis because that's what yogis do, right? But it's one of those things. Okay, it's on the bucket list. There's the Eiffel Tower. And in Paris, they're getting pitched by some marketing company to go to New York. I left New York to go to Paris, and in the Parisians are getting pitched, come to New York, see the Empire State Building, cross the Brooklyn Bridge, whatever it is. So we are just getting sold in our mind different types of material bucket lists, which doesn't fulfill the heart. We're spiritual beings, right? Like a fish taken out of water. There's nothing of the material world on land that's going to satisfy a fish, right? Give the fish Skittles, give the fish ice cream, give the fish, a vacation. The fish just wants to go in the water again. We are happy, not by checking boxes on a material bucket list. We're happy when we're back in the water of our spiritual life. Why? Because we're spiritual beings. It's that simple. I feel better in spiritual company, in a spiritual satsang, reading spiritual literature. You know why? Because I'm a spiritual being. I feel around. I like, as soon as I said that, Narayani hugged Vanamali Vicky, right? They're just hugging each other. Why? Because I said, we like being around spiritual people. And it's true. This is a group of live here on this trek. We refuse to criticize each other. We decided to become tolerant. We take no offense. We're practicing all 6 pillars of bhakti yoga, and it keeps the vibe very high. So where was I, Mara? I was talking about the 3 planetary systems. Yeah. So that being said, there are these considered heavens and hells, and some people into the yoga system, they worship some gods to go to some heavens. The problem is you come down. Here it says you come down by the sword of time. So you live a very, very long life. It's a very, very luxurious life, a very exalted life, but it's still temporary, right? Gita also, it seems like Mara is trying to push me into the next verse. I'm purporting, please.
You may purport.
She's scrolling up. Krishna also validates this in the Bhagavad Gita. Brahma Bhuvana Loka, from the highest planet in the material world, right? Brahma Loka, to the lowest, Patala. They're all places of pain. Why? Why? How could the highest planet be a place of pain? Because it's temporary. From the highest planet in the material world to the lowest are all from the highest planet in the material world to the lowest are all places of suffering because they contain repeated birth and death. So a person who's wise, they're not thinking about how to get better real estate in a temporary world. They're thinking about how to escape samsara. So the more you study the Bhagavatam, it's not going to tell you how to maneuver your life in such a way to overcome your bad karma. There's other literature within the Vedic canon that will teach you that stuff, how to counteract bad karma. You can read the Manu Samhita, or you can read, books on worshiping the demigods or worshiping Ganesh, and they'll overcome your malefic planets in your chart. But as far as our chart is concerned, our astrology, or our which represents our karma, for the people practicing bhakti yoga, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana. It's a spotless Purana. It's not going to tell you how to do metaphysical bargaining with the God. It's going to teach you how to escape birth and death. And therefore, as far as our astrological chart is concerned, we accept that whatever we got. And that's Krishna's mercy. We accept what I got. And what am I going to do with that? I'm not trying to beat the system. I'm trying to accept that Krishna's got a plan for me, and he knows the exact recipe, every spice to put in my life to assist me to transcend the material world.
Pretty good.
Where's Kastuba when I need to say, what do you think of that, Kastuba? What else we got, Mira? Oh, okay. She's writing something. I understand. You're taking notes. I thought she was sending text messages. Dhruva Maharaj continued, "Oh, unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly. As the waves of a river constantly flow." I read that wrong. Let me read that again. "Oh, unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly, as the waves of a river constantly flow." This is a huge statement that's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, is this lava matra sadhusanga. Lava matra is a unit of time. Isn't it interesting? There's different units of time in the Vedic worldview. And a lava matra means like a moment. They say that even a lava matra sadhusanga sarva siddhahoy. You want to develop all your cities. You want to be a perfected being. You need to, just for a moment, associate with a great soul. Find a great soul, take their company, and that can change the trajectory of your entire life. I can speak in my own life that I've got the good fortune to meet great souls. And because of it, they do something to you. You start to see the world through a different set of lenses. It's powerful. So here, Dhruva is, he's saying the same thing. Kindly bless that I may associate with great devotees. What's a Sanskrit? Okay, live. Here's a quiz. Here's a quiz. What is a Sanskrit word for a great soul? Yes. Vicky from Cyprus. Mahatma. Eva, the Polish princess, is like, damn that, Vicky. It was on the tip of my tongue. Okay. Where is we? Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the presence of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the Neshan. Neshan means dark ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire-like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are eternally existent. That reminds me of the story I told yesterday. Do you mind if I tell it again?
Please.
Okay. You guys mind if I tell the same story you heard yesterday? So when Ram was exiled to the forest, it was such a sweet story. When Ram was exiled to the forest, they got to this place where they had to cross a river, and there was a boatman, and that's how you would cross. Even when I first went to India, You want to cross a river, there's a boatman, and he's just sitting there all day and wait till someone wants to cross. And it costs like 5 pice to cross, like less than a rupee to cross. Now the boats have motors on them, even when you want to cross the river. But back then he just had a stick. So Ram did the same thing when he was with Sita and he was with Lakshman. And the boatman, they looked at each other and he said, Ram said, how much is it to cross? And the boatman said, oh, Ram, please just get in. Don't ask price, just get in the boat. And he's taking him across. And Ram says, no, really, I want to pay. I want to pay you for what you've done for me. What would it be? And he goes, Ram, don't think about what you owe me. I owe you everything. And Ram was a little frustrated. He said, Sita, we are going to spend time in the forest. Take your pearl necklace and give it to the boatman. And Sita very quickly just pulled these very expensive pearls from her neck. And the boatman very sweetly and jokingly said, Ram, we are in the same profession. I am a boatman and you are a boatman. And Ram said, what are you talking about? He said, I am taking people over a very small river. And he said, we have the same profession. Therefore, we can't charge each other. You do me a favor. I do you a favor. Ram, I am taking you over a little river, but you are a boatman, Ram, because you take people over the ocean of birth and death. And then Ram said, and when it is time for you to leave, I will remember this, and I will also cross you over that ocean.
So sweet.
Sweet story. Ramayana is so beautiful. It's been millennia, thousands of years later, and we're still telling the stories of Sri Ramachandra Bhagawan Ki Jai. Text 12. O Lord, who has a lotus navel, right? The Lord is called Padmanabha. Right? Arjun, Padmanabha. He has a lotus growing from his navel. If a person happens to associate with a devotee whose heart always hankers after your lotus feet, seeking always their fragrance, he is never attached to the material body or in a bodily relationship to offspring, friends, home, wealth, spouse, which are very, very dear to materialistic persons. Indeed, they do not care for them. By the way, that is a very high statement, okay? Why? Because it's not like evil. Why is it evil to care for a home or your spouse or your savings or etc.? No, it's not evil. It's like sort of normal. It's sort of responsible. But we're talking about when we get to this stage where we understand, like, in the biggest picture of thing and the most zoomed out understanding of my reality is I don't own my spouse. I don't own my children. I don't own my wealth. I can prepare my retirement, but how many times have you heard stories about people who have lost everything? They've worked hard for it, put money, and they've lost it all. Happens all the time, right? Sometimes currencies drop into nothing or overnight, and it takes whatever, like hyperinflation. It takes wheelbarrows of money to buy a loaf of bread. So the transcendentalist, that is in the forefront of their mind. Nothing here is mine. And they said, if a person happens to associate with one of these devotees whose heart always hankers after your lotus feet, seeking always their fragrance. See, these are all beautiful poetic plays on words. The lotus feet mean the lowest part of the Lord's body, right? The feet are the lowest. We don't, especially in the Eastern culture, you don't touch somebody with your feet, right? We take the shoes off when we come inside, but the lowest feet, lowest part of the body of the Lord, they are like lotus petals, right? The lotus feet of the Lord, and they are eager after the fragrance of those lotus feet, right? You ever want to smell the fragrance of my feet? Yeah, you do not want to smell the fragrance of my feet, but the fragrance of the Lord's feet. This is quite wonderful. That person is never attached to the material body. Right? Indeed, they do not care for them. They're indifferent. My dear Lord, O supreme unborn. Ever ask that question? Or get confronted with somebody saying like that? Oh yeah, God created everything? Yeah. Who created God? Huh? That's God's position. He's unborn, right? He's the original person. Dvaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purasham Navayovanam Cha. Adyam Purana. He's the oldest. We got some old people on this trip. You and me. Me and Jen Hunt. Me and Jen Hunt are the oldest on the trip. And you know what? If you think about God, you think, well, he's really old. He must be horrible. You know, as you get older, my face gets a little more wrinkled, a little puffy, a little droopy. That's part of getting old. So you think, well, Krishna's very old. He must be droopy, puffy, wrinkled. Adyam Purana Purusham Nava Yovanamcha. Right? He's like a little boy. Even though he's the oldest, he's an adorable, charming boy. How can that be? That's Krishna's unique position. He's unborn, and he's the oldest, but he's charming, like blooming youth. It's described.
You're still on text 13.
Text 13. My dear Lord, O Supreme Unborn, I know the different varieties of living entities, such as animals, trees, birds, reptiles, demigods, and human beings are spread throughout the universe, which is caused by the total material energy. And I know that they are sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. But I have never experienced the supreme form I behold as I see you now. Now, all kinds of methods of theorizing have come to an end. Right? This is it. We've speculated, we've studied sacred literature, we read descriptions about the unborn or about the form of the deity or the form of the Lord. But now all that speculative knowledge is gone. Dhruva is seeing Bhagavan face to face. Imagine what that must be like. Mara, before we go anywhere else, quiz, hot seat, see if somebody can beat Mara. How many species of life are there?
Oh, that's a hard one. Narayani, 8.
According to
8. Yeah.
8,432,000 species, right? Thank you.
Narayani says no.
Narayani says no.
Yeah.
Is it 8,400,000 or 8,432,000? Put it up on the board. Okay. Well, this is not according to modern scientists. This is according to modern scientists nowadays are still finding new species. See, we're accepting the Vedas as apurusheya. It means they're faultless. So it's descending information. And the descending information tells us explicitly how many species there are. And then they'll break down the species into human species. There's actually, and I wish I had the number, but there's different species of humans. And then there's higher beings. We tend to think we are at the pinnacle of evolution as humans. Wrong. There's much higher beings than humans. There's demigods, there's siddhas, the charnas, there's gandharvas, there's yakshas and rakshasas, right?
MK says.
Thank you.
8,400,000.
8,432,000.
No. The 432,000 is the land of Kali Yuga. That's right.
Whoops. Oh, thank you.
8,400,000.
Thank you.
That's the numbers.
8,400,000.
Like
Narayani got it right. Stumped by the new initiate, Narayani.
She can be on the hot seat from now on.
Okay,
she's proving herself.
You're the new hot
She's
seat,
doing quite
Narayani.
well.
Narayani from Germany. Oh, my dear. Okay, where are we? Okay. So now he's seeing Bhagavan, Lord Vishnu, face to face, and he is in awe. It's taken away all of his theorizing of God. I just hiccuped. Excuse me. My dear Lord, at the end of each millennium, the personality of Godhead, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, dissolves everything manifested within the universe into his belly. Supreme personality, yes. He lies down on the lap of Sheshanag. So a nag is like a snake. Sheshanag, not the shesh, right? And from his navel sprouts a golden lotus flower on a stem. And on that lotus, Lord Brahma is created. I can understand that you are the same supreme Godhead. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. My Lord, by your unbroken transcendental glance, you are the supreme witness of all stages of intellectual activities. You are eternally liberated. Your existence is situated in pure goodness, and you are existent in the super soul without change. You are the original personality of Godhead with 6 opulences. Narayani, name all 6 opulences.
We just did this.
We just did this yesterday.
I'm sure she knows.
Knowledge, 1. Strength, 2. Fame, 3. Beauty, 4. Wealth, 5.
Yeah.
Yes, Narayani.
She's good.
So this is the very definition of the word Bhagavan. Bhagavan, the opulences, and one who has all those opulences in full is called Bhagavan. And as jivas, as living entities, we have all of those things: wealth, strength, beauty, etc., but in minute proportions. If we have them in big proportions, we become really confused. If you're very wealthy, if you're very beautiful, if you're very knowledgeable, we become confused. We start to think, I think I am Bhagavan. And we get driven by our ego. So that's why it's important to add spiritual information to your life, or else and we see that all the time. People have great fame and they become jerks. People become very beautiful and they become arrogant. People get a lot of money and they start to exploit people with their money. So that's why the best thing we could do for ourselves and for the people we love is give people information. And that's what we try to do with a podcast, is we give spiritual information, or else the very things that you love and that you're good at and your gifts are, they end up ruining your life. Right? Jonah, come on. Okay, thank you. Let's put Jonah on the hot seat. He's too quiet. Jonah from Belgium's here. You are eternally liberated. What?
Sorry. You were going through the 6 opulences.
Oh, the 6 opulences. And you are eternally the master of the 3 modes of material nature. So this whole Mahatattva, the whole material world, Vishnu or Krishna, he's above it. He's the master of the gunas. We are trapped. The jivas, we're trapped in them. We're trapped in them. We're confused by them. Now, Joshua Love from Anchorage, Alaska, he asked a great question. Do we have free will? And what's the deal about free will? And the interesting thing is, we have a lot less free will than we think. The fact is, and you might have known, if you know a person who's ever done a heavy drug like heroin, say, and suppose they're 5 days clean, 5 days clean from heroin. And then you go up to him and say, hey, man, I got some heroin. You want some? Their habit, their strong addiction to heroin, they might just say, yes, I do. Give me some heroin. Now, the problem was the last time the guy did heroin, he lost his family. He might have got arrested. He might have got robbed, right? He lost his job. So how much free will does a person who has an addiction have? They have no free will. From stimulus to response, there's no space. You want heroin? Yes. Right? A person who's, say, 30 years sober from a heroin addiction, if you say to them, hey, you want some heroin? They might say, let me think about this. No, because last time I did this 30 years ago, I lost my job. I lost my family. I lost my money. And I'm just not going to, I chose. Are you okay?
Sorry.
I thought, well, I almost lost Mara. When I did that 30 years ago, I lost all that stuff. Since then, I've been in rehab or recovery. And because of that, I have a little bit better control, right? After 30 years being sober from a drug, you have a little bit more free will. And that's what the yoga system does. The yoga system is meant to bring our consciousness from tamas and rajas, right? Tamas is like a state of lethargy, of ignorance, of addiction. Rajas is like Raj, like a king. It is moving, energy, planning, scheming, creating, right? With great hope. And right, the quintessential, Wall Street broker. What's the guy's name? The Wolf of Wall Street.
That's all I got.
That's all you got. The Wolf of Wall Street. Okay, the Wolf of Wall Street. Like that. So we have a culture that's dominated by Rajas and Tamas. To the degree that we're dominated in Rajas and Tamas, we have very, very little free will. Yoga culture, sense control, rising early, study of sacred literature. These are things that actually change your gunas. And sometimes we're born into a dominant guna. You know how you can tell? You can look at a person's car on the inside. If it's a total, Regina's laughing from Germany. If the car is a mess, you can understand you are dominated by Raja and tamas, right? Sattva means impeccably organized. Like I went into Rich Mancuso's room the other day to do some morning pranayam. Everything was laid out perfectly. His toothbrush was in line. His bag was, his shoes were next to each other, like perfectly. It was like beautiful. It's like you had a house cleaner come in there and fix up your little cottage. So Rich Mancuso is very sattvic. He's in a mode of goodness. And because of that mode of goodness, we have more options. Now, then the question is, if we have some free will, partial free will, a little bit free will, where does karma come in? Karma's there also. And for example, suppose we're flying to Austin, Texas. You can't get off that plane for the most part. That's your karma. What you do on that plane, that's your free will. What do people do on planes? Some sleep, some drink alcohol, some read the Bible, some listen to music, some watch movies, right? So what we do with our destiny is our free will. But we all have some type of karma, because where's your karma coming from? That's coming from our previous births, our previous choices, just like today's choices are creating tomorrow. Isn't that true? So there's this karma that is manifest right now, right? We're here in Nepal, right? Maybe I slipped and broke a leg. That is karma that is manifest. It was like sometimes like you'll in springtime where we live, you go to, there's no leaves on the trees. Then you go out the next day and there's leaves on all the trees. It's like it was sprouting time. We have karmic seeds that are sprouting. Sometimes they're sprouting a good sweet fruit and sometimes a bitter fruit, but they're latent in a seed form. That's called aparabdha karma, unmanifest karma. And how do we get that? We've created it. And you're creating tomorrow's aparabdha karma. You're creating more seeds right now by our choices to whatever happens to us, right? Suppose I get bucked by, sometimes you see a buffalo while we're hiking. Suppose I get bucked by a buffalo. How do I react to that? Do I beat the buffalo or kill the buffalo? Or do I just go on my way and, just keep on walking if I can? The idea is that whatever happens to us, we have an opportunity to react. And that reaction is creating future karmas. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Thank you. So Krishna is above these gunas. And sometimes he might manifest on this planet. And therefore you might think, well, if Krishna comes into this world, he must be subject to the gunas. And the answer in the Gita, Krishna says, no, I'm not. It's like the warden can come into a prison, but he's not subject to the same rules as the prisoner. He can come in and then he can also leave and go home at night. Excuse me. Continuing on.
Yes, you are always different.
You are always different from the ordinary living entities. As Lord Vishnu, you maintain all the affairs of the entire universe, and yet you stand aloof and are the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. My dear Lord, you know what we're doing on this trip? Everybody is randomly trying, because a big thing in bhakti is Krishna says in the Bhagavatam, the book we're reading right now, those who claim to be my devotees are not my devotees, but those who say it.
Who serve my devotees are my devotees.
Those who claim to be the devotees of my devotees, they're my devotees. So we have this running thing. We're all desperately trying to serve each other. So Vanamaliji has brought us some ginger tea, and then Joshua, and everybody's sponsoring different drinks, for everybody. We're getting teas and chais and some cookies. We got some vegan cookies. Everybody's trying to serve. Let me take your plate. Let me take your plate. In that service attitude, you create a heaven on earth. And Jake asked that question. Are you guys trying to create heaven on earth? And my point was, it can't be heaven because it's temporary. And everything is trying to kill each other. That's part of the material realm. Where the birds are eating bird food and they're looking over their shoulder. Where is the cat? There's anxiety in this world. That being said, we can be in the world, but not of the world. So you, in one sense, you create a transcendental bubble, but it's still the material world. And so you can create that. And we have on a pilgrimage, we can create that mood of being in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means the spiritual realm, the place of no anxiety. Why? Because we're all acting as if we're liberated souls, which is no condemnation, no criticism, no fault finding, only tolerance. I take no offense. I see the good in other people. I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to apologize. What a sweet dynamic that creates. As a matter of fact, when the whole thing is over and we get put on the plane and you put that seatbelt on, you're like, where was I? What just happened? And that's what we try to create on a pilgrimage. We try to create a new samskara, a new way to think. So we can take that home and figure, how am I going to apply this to my life now? And that's the big question. That's our big meditation for everybody with us right now. All right. 16, this is text 16. My dear Lord, in your impersonal manifestation of Brahman, there are always two opposing elements, knowledge and ignorance. Your multi-energies are continually manifest, but the impersonal Brahman, which is undivided, original, changeless, unlimited, and blissful, is the cause of the material manifestation. Because you are the same impersonal Brahman, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Continuing on, Joshua Love, with our conversation earlier, we were talking about Christianity, and we were saying, is Christ the Son of God, or is he saying that I am the Son of God, and you are the Son of God, and we are God, and you are God? This is the ongoing thing. Is God an impersonal form? Is he a light? Is he an energy? Is everything God, or is God actually a being with form and personality and a name? And the answer is both. Both. And the simple understanding is the sun and the sunlight. Right? The sun globe and the sunlight, they can't exist without the other. And depending on your proclivity of how to worship, people either chant these mantras, impersonal mantras like Om, right, that speak about no divine being, but speak about Brahman, glorify Brahman, try to merge with Brahman, or they want and they want to become free from the body and free from the senses and free from the mind, and therefore the goal, the home run of that path is mukti, liberation from the body and the mind, which imprison the jiva. Let's face it, the body and the mind, these are the things we have to transcend. And it sort of walks hand in hand with the path of bhakti. But at a certain point, there's a fork. And in that fork in bhakti, we're not necessarily trying to escape the pain of existence. We're trying to serve Krishna. And we want, in bhakti, we want love. We don't want to escape pain. We want love. And sometimes in the name of love, and mothers know this, and fathers know this, sometimes in the name of love, we take on pain. Isn't that true? Parents, you take on pain in the name of love. You know, your kid's up all night, throwing up. He's 4 years old, throwing up on in the toilet. And you're like, well, I want to escape pain. I'm just going to stay asleep. You just throw up, kid. No, a good parent is going to take on the pain. He's going to ruin his sleep. He's got to go to work in the morning, but he's going to be with the kid and show up for them. And in bhakti, our mood is, how can I serve? Now, the interesting thing is, as soon as I wake up and I say, my dear Lord, how can I serve? And you say, well, you can sandblast the chimney, or you can do some like excruciating, miserable task. But if your mood is, thank you for allowing me to serve, then you should understand mukti is already there. You're already liberated because nothing bothers you anymore. Like Narayani was just moving to her apartment and she was looking for all these moving, and moving's a pain in the neck. You're going to pay these guys and they're, whatever, smoking and playing horrible music, and they're walking with their boots on in your apartment. And they're like, yeah, whose box of DD paraphernalia is this? And stuff like that. They're coming into your house. And so it was very expensive. So she just called the local temple in Zurich. She's German, but she lives in Zurich. And she said, yeah, all the devotees came over and helped me move into my apartment. And I just made a donation. And that happened to me in New York City. New York City, it's even worse. You were inspired by my story. Okay. In New York, it's even worse because one, you got to park the car. That's a pain in the neck. So somebody's got to sit in the car parked illegally. Then you got to have other people bring the stuff upstairs, pain in the neck. You got to wait for the, what's it called? The cargo elevator or the service elevator to bring stuff up in. And then you got to, back then I had 4 little children. So someone's got to watch the kids. Someone's got to watch that dog. I've got to hustle back and forth with these crazy movers. And then Radhanath Swami just told a bunch of brahmacharis to come over. And so, you know who it was? Namras.
Oh, really?
From the Namras podcast.
Oh,
He helped me move into that apartment in New York. But we had like 5 brahmacharis. Akeshapacharya from Primahara. He was one of them. I had all-star movers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and they're singing. I was like, can I get you guys something to eat? Can I give you some money? They're like, no, it's service, Prabhu. We don't want money. They're just singing the entire time. Never had a singing apartment movers before, but that's what it was. Because for a devotee, they're eager to serve. And in that eagerness to serve, they're liberated. What are we trying to liberate ourselves from? The senses of the mind, right? The senses of the mind. Those are the things that cause me the most problem. I'm sorry. Yeah, the senses, the mind, the body. Those are the things that cause me the most problem. Give a Indian head bobble there. Where are we, Mara?
Text 17.
Oh, time's flying. Oh, my dear Lord, oh, Supreme Lord, you are the supreme personified form of all benedictions. Therefore, for one who abides in your bhakti with no other desire, worshiping your lotus feet, there's those words again, is better than becoming king and lording it over a kingdom. That's a tough job anyway.
Yeah, but that's what Dhruva wanted, right? Wasn't?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I get it. That's right. I was just thinking about running for president. Who would want that job? It's so much stress. Okay. So okay. Because all right, I get it. Thank you, Mary. You brought me back home here. Worshiping your lotus feet is better than becoming a king and lording it over a kingdom. That is the benediction of worshiping your lotus feet. To ignorant devotees like me, you are the causelessly merciful maintainer, just like a cow who takes care of a newly born calf by supplying milk and giving it protection from attack. So that's the idea. Worship of the demigods, very easy. The demigods give you whatever you want. Worship Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu gives you what you want. But sometimes he gives you what you want by taking away your material desires. And then you're just left with him. And you end up getting bhakti, even though you came for some material request. So it's always better to worship Lord Vishnu. Can you name that verse?
No.
Bhagavatam verse.
No.
Akarma savra kama va moksha karma udaradi. Whether you're filled with kama, desires, akama, have no desires, right? Akama sarva kama va moksha, or whether you desire liberation. Best is to worship the personality of Godhead. My dear Dhruva, the son of here?
No. Yeah.
My dear Vidura. Oh, this is okay. So this is okay. When Dhruva Maharaj, who had good intentions in his heart, finished his prayer, right? He just said these vandanam, these prayers to the Lord, finished his prayer, the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, who is very kind to his devotees and servants, congratulated him, speaking as follows. So this is Lord Vishnu speaking. My dear Dhruva, the son of the king, you have executed pious vows. And I also know the desire within your heart. Although your desire is very ambitious and very difficult to fulfill, I shall favor you with its fulfillment. All good fortune unto you. The Lord continued, my dear Dhruva, I shall award you the glowing planet known as the pole star. Me and Narayani saw it this morning, right? She pointed it out. using her 8th grade astronomy information, which is surrounded by the solar system, planets and stars. All the luminaries in the sky circumambulate this planet, just as bulls tread around a central pole for the purpose of crushing grains. Keeping the pole star to the right, all the stars inhabited by the great sages like Dharma, Agni, Kashyapa, and Sukra circumambulate this planet, which continues to exist even after the dissolution of all others. I thought that was interesting, Mara.
It is interesting.
It means after the cosmos destruct, right? After Lord Shiva does his dance of destruction, that Dhruva Loka is still there. Very interesting. I didn't know that till the other day. After your father goes to the forest and awards you the rule of his kingdom, right? Father goes to the forest is another way of saying retires, right? What year are you going to retire, Rich Mancuso? How old are you going to be? You got a plan?
Anytime the next 10 years.
Next 10 years. Okay, I got a retirement plan for you. You're going to go to the forest. That's how we retire, because retirement means I'm preparing.
You mean upstate New York?
Yeah, upstate New York. You're going to Super Soul Farm. Because the idea is retirement isn't to, okay, let's see how I can look younger, be younger, and feel younger. Retirement is like, I'm getting sober with the fact that, hey, I'm getting older and I'm actually could at any moment, the chances are more of me leaving. Like, for example, I'm 56. And I remember at 46, when I read my high school yearbook, right? I remember at 26 when I read my high school yearbook and I was like, oh, there's all my friends from high school. And then at 36, I was like, oh man, that guy died. That's weird. At 46, there's about 7 that died. And at 56, so many have died. You know why? Because your chances of living get less as you get older. My mom always says, she's like, all my friends are dead. My mom's 96. She's like, all my friends are dead. She's like, that's why I date these guys in their 80s.
All right, you're on after your father goes to the forest. That's what got you on Grandma Terry dating younger men.
They're young by a decade. Yeah, they're good. After your father goes to the forest, after Rich goes to the forest and awards you the rule of kingdom, you will rule continuously the entire world for 36,000 years. What? And your senses will continue to be as strong as they are now. So this isn't a different yuga where people actually lived longer. It's sort of like when we talk about dog years. Like my dog is like 75 right now in dog years. So he's like, whatever, 9.5, right? So we got to do the math here to understand. He's ruling for 36,000 years. You'll never become old, he says. The Lord continued, sometime in the future, your brother Uttam will go hunting in the forest, and while absorbed in hunting, he will be killed. Your stepmother, Suruchi, being maddened upon the death of her son, will go to search him out in the forest, but she'll be devoured by a forest fire. That sounds horrible. The Lord continued, I am the heart of all sacrifices. You'll be able to perform many great sacrifices and also give great charities. In this way, you'll be able to enjoy the blessings of material happiness in this life. And at the time of your death, you'll be able to remember me, right? Which is the goal of spiritual life. Yam yam vapi smaram babam tyajanti anti kalevaram. Whatever you're meditating on, there's where you're going to go. So that's what we're doing when we do our morning sadhana. We're chanting japa, we're singing our bhajans, we're walking around saying Haribol. We're climbing up the stairs going Radhe Sham. This is what we're doing today. We're climbing up the mountain going Radhe Sham.